Ron, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Well,
Pleasure.
we're going to see a record, yeah.
Fingers crossed, I hope so. I think we, in the second half, from what I can remember, we have something like, I don't know, 80, 90 queuing up for processing.
So there is obviously the money here to support this, and this is why people are coming, I suppose.
Well, I think so far, we've been fortunate this year. It's been quite robust, and we've had a couple of big ones. Agricultural Bank of China, and early in the year, UC Russell, and hopefully, later in the year, we'll see one or two others coming forth. But we always emphasize we're not just here for the big boys. We're here for companies of all sizes, quality companies. We think it's a great platform for them.
Why would I want to IPO in Hong Kong and not, let's say, in another Asian city?
I think to some extent it really depends on the depth of the market. I think we have the liquidity here. Our investor profile is probably perfect for the companies doing IPO in the sense that we have something like 60% plus institutional investors, a very active retail investor base of about 30%. So between the two, that's creates for a healthy trading market.
All right. So, when you look at this, do you see any, well, let's say economic downturn in the US affecting your business, or do you think that Hong Kong can actually withstand it on its own?
I think obviously the economic situation in the US is affecting the businesses of exporters. But having said that, I mean, if you look around Asia, you look at countries like Philippines and Thailand. They depend a lot on export and their growth. I mean, Thailand is one of the best performing stock markets in the world this year. So obviously it has its effect, but also hopefully trade within the Asian bloc would also pick up some of the slack.
All right. But, with this in mind at the moment, there's a lot of uncertainty out there. What are you feeling?
Well, the big question is, double dip or no double dip. I think it seems that the consensus and the Oracle himself has come out a couple of days ago and said no double
Which
dip.
one? You tell me.
Oracle's in the making.
Is there one in Omaha? Is there?
Yeah, the one's in Omaha. Yeah, that's right.
And it's quite arcane, the trading practices here. You set out a consulting paper, haven't you, about this 2-hour lunch break and that sort of thing as well. I mean, 10 o'clock start. It's quite laid back if you're at the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, surely.
I think that's all historical, and I think also with the trading being largely electronic, time really doesn't really matter too much in that sense. But I think what we do try to do is to try and align ourselves with one of the markets that has the biggest influence in Hong Kong, and that is mainland China. We want, if possible, depending on what the institutional investors or the investors at large in the market, and particularly the broking industry, how we go from there. So we are taking the issue to them.
Yeah, so what are the sort of points that are being made at the moment? What are people suggesting is the answer to this?
I think it looks as if there's two schools of thought. They feel that 1 hour lunch is probably too short, maybe an hour and a half. But there are those that also, are quite happy not to have lunch.
I mean, London, New York, they don't have lunch hours.
No, but I think probably the broking community size is much more medium to large as opposed to what I call, right across the counter, in terms of SMEs, in terms of our domestic broking sector. But also, for them, it's also a matter of IT, it's also a matter of backup, et cetera, and all that.
Now, talking of IT, you've been against electronic trading for a while, aren't you? I mean, because of these dark pools which do develop.
I'm not against electronic trading. I think, what I think we need to look at, as an exchange community and trading platform community, is that regulated exchanges are subject to, fairly tight controls by the regulators, whereas alternative trading platforms do not have to comply with the same stringent requirements. So all we want is, level playing field.
Yeah, so you get this development of dark pools, that's what you've said in the past, haven't you? But a lot of other Asian markets are developing this, and they don't seem to have a problem with them. Why do you?
Well, I think in terms of price discovery, in terms of access to market, dark pools do not allow for your normal retail investors, for instance. And also, in terms of reporting trades, in terms of clearing, all these are issues that, go towards the stability and the regulation of markets.
What about, there's a push now from regulators to unify globally what happens in terms of regulating stock exchanges. Where do you fit in that position?
Well, Hong Kong is a very active member of the World Federation of Exchanges, and in fact, I'm the vice chairman. And I think we need to have conversation with the regulator IOSCO, which are SEC, Hong Kong SFC, and so on, FSA in London. So I think from that point of view, the two of us, the two groups of professionals, really need to try and sit down and see, what is the way forward, particularly after the crisis that we saw in 08 and 09.
Ronald Arculli, thank you very much indeed for joining us.